Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's TST meeting. Thanks for joining. I'm sorry I have not recorded the last one. This is recorded, and as usual, the call is public, so please be mindful of the comments you make and the information you share with the team. First, we have two big items. One is a continuation on last week's HCD discussion, and I know Serkan has some updates on that. And on the first, before that, I'd like to tell everybody about the proposal that we are starting to put together with the operators around software update. So let me start with that. As you guys know, there is this document which was vOLTHA software updates. There was a lot of content to it. There was a lot of content in it, and it's still there. It's just under the notes, previous version. What I have done under here is a proposal for what can be achieved, possibly, if everything goes right, within the 2.7 timeframe. And this is also a first step that our operators want to even consider calling a release an LTS release. So the big distinction that has been made with the operators is a minor software update versus a major software upgrade. The key distinction there is version and APIs. So the version in a minor software upgrade is just a minor version because there is no API change and no data that has been stored that changes format. So that is key to distinguish minor and major. And for the idea for 2.7 would be to achieve an in-service software update for minor releases while having maintenance windows for major releases. For minor software update, the distinction is between vOLTHA and ONOS, vOLTHA components and ONOS apps. We are not yet talking about the full ONOS cluster, we're just talking about the ONOS apps. So for vOLTHA, as you can see in the document, the prerequisites is this: there is no change in that component in vOLTHA Protos, vOLTHA libgo, or and there's just a minor update in the version file. And the idea is that you should be able to do Helm upgrade that component and allow it to restart and be good to go without any service disruption. At the moment, this is in fact very similar to our component restart test that we already have. So instead of restarting the component with the same exact version, you're going to restart it a little bit different. Just a minor version, a bug fix. The minor version is a bug fix, effectively. There's no feature introduced in here. And it's going to be done on a released version. We're not going to be doing it in master. So master is still treated as in progress, and this doesn't happen on master. So we expect this to work right now.
Andrea, quick question.
Yeah, go ahead, Theo.
When you say no update in vOLTHA libgo for the component, do you mean no API changes, right? So
yes.
We may have a bug in vOLTHA libgo that needs fixed, but
good
as long as the API don't change, it will be the same.
Good point. Thanks for pointing that out.
Also, can I get a little clarity around the no schema change? Well, I generally agree with that. I wanted to make sure that that was to not have kind of a data migration phase as part of the upgrade versus operators are actually directly going to the data store and grabbing data. Therefore, they don't want to change.
No, that is precisely for what you said first, David. The idea is that we won't implement any data migration algorithms or capacity within vOLTHA 2.7, and that's why a minor software update, we don't want it to include the data, stored data type changes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, good points, both of those. So there's still a few to-dos for this one. The idea is that we need to create a test, and it's going to be based on the existing component restart test. It's just going to be augmented with the change of a minor version. We need to have a few scripts to actually do a better checking for some versioning, meaning enforcing these prerequisites via scripts during our CI processes. And the real implementation point that needs to be done, but I know Holger from Adtran is already working on it, is that at the moment, the OpenONU Go does reconciliation by reflushing the state of the ONU and putting in brand new state. But we don't want that because that's service impacting. So based on an MDS counter that we have already implemented, a capability for an MDS counter that is already being implemented, we will effectively ask the ONU for that MDS counter upon reconciliation. And if that MDS counter is fine, no problem, then we're not going to reprovision anything on the ONU and it's going to be in service. There was another suggestion to have a script that allows upgrading across multiple stacks. That's nice to have. So this is a vOLTHA component minor software upgrade. Is there any questions before I go forward?
Just to hit on the data migration issue again. So a bug fix, in Semper, it's usually A.B.C, and .c, the last one, is bug fix. .v is minor version. Minor versions sometimes do include data changes for a new feature that can be introduced without creating the change in the API. But if vOLTHA does need to change schema, and vOLTHA can have that schema change done kind of in line, is that still off the table then? I guess the question is, or are we really just dealing with bug fix .c and major version .a
now? To me, anything touching data structure is off the table here. But I'd like to understand everybody's opinion on it.
Well, I would say for 2.7 is definitely off the table, given that we are midway into the release and we are still talking about possible different storages. I don't see how we can implement a data migration.
I don't mean that type of data. I mean, yeah, absolutely changing data store types, but I mean, adding a new field in the data to even perhaps fix a bug seems to be off the table. But some of those data changes can be made kind of invisible or in line, not through a separate data migration phase, which means you would still do a Helm upgrade and the system would continue without disruption. And I'm wondering if those are really off the table. And again, those changes should be invisible to the user in terms of a migration or upgrade step.
I mean, I can't really picture a scenario like that, but if there is a case in which, let's say, the data will automatically migrate, then I don't see any reason not to do it.
David, when you're talking about data migration, do you mean to migrate the data on service or not? I mean, when components are running?
Yes, well, components are running. My assumption here is that it's potentially that some non-API changes, so they would fit in, they wouldn't change the public API, might require a schema change, additional field, a change of the type of the field, or increase in the values of the field, which again doesn't affect the public API, but could be required to add a minor feature or even a bug fix. But based on the original description, that would now be off the table for a minor change, even if we could do the data change while the service is still running. And I'm just looking for clarification on that.
So as of now, our protos are defining both the API and the data scheme. So I don't see any way to make a change in the data that will not affect the APIs. But
yeah, that's a good point.
There are for sure backward compatible changes. Like, I don't know, we need to add a field in the packet in, packet out, and all the new packets will populate that field. I don't see a big issue with that, but I will evaluate that case by case because I think it's hard to generalize.
Yeah, I agree. It's too general.
So as I said, to me, everything related to data migration, even if it's transparent at the moment, given that it would include that we would need to test it and make sure it works, is off the table. Would you be able to do it? Maybe, but it's uncharted territory and you'll be on your own.
Okay, but again, that may limit potentially going down what can be done in a minor release. It might turn minor releases simply to bug fix releases, and that's okay. I'm just looking for clarification.
Yeah, and we could implement that in the future, but right now, I would say this is what we are aiming for. Anything else on this? Okay, then if not, let me go to the honest. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Tim.
Sorry, Andrea, just one thing. It's not on the data, but on the script you mentioned to upgrade multiple stacks.
Oh, this one.
I'm not aware of the details of that, but if it was up to me, I will try to update one stack at a time, not all together, so that it's easier to roll back in case something goes wrong.
But you could still have a script that does sequential updating across stacks. If the update in a stack is successful, it goes to the next one.
Yeah, you know, I'm not a big fan of building tooling around existing tooling.
Agreed.
That's the desire, we can look into it.
Agreed. That's why I said optional, and it's, to me, it's a minor thing. If we get it, we do it, we manage the time, whatever, be happy. If not, whatever. Okay. On the honest side, this becomes a little bit more interesting because it's under investigation, and this has never been attempted, as far as I know, from the community, upstream community. So the idea would be to have the capability to upgrade a minor version of an honest app without having to tear down the whole cluster. Or be service impacting. There are some of the same prerequisite: no change in the honest dependencies, no change in Java interfaces, no change in REST APIs, CLI, component config, network config, and only a minor update in the pom.xml. The procedure, and I'll talk about why I have some of these comments in here, is to delete the old application and then just post the new one. Should be fairly straightforward. There's a bunch of to-do. Again, as I said, this has never been tested. The first of which is create a test for all of this. And the test would basically have a sanity check, deletion of one application, ensuring that nothing else is broken, re-adding a new version of that app, and verifying again that nothing is broken and we can work with the existing cluster. Then restart an ONOS instance, verify that the ONOS instance comes back up with the same newer image application version, and then perform sanity again. To implement this, there are a few things that we found out. When I say we, I had a very good chat with our friends at Netsia, and they have achieved this capability. So they were capable of reinstalling the ONOS applications on top of a running cluster to have a minor version update. And to get to that, they needed to do some steps, among which moving everything that is in local maps to atomics, even though you might keep it to local maps as of right now, because it doesn't have to necessarily be distributed, but to regain the state, it needs to be there. A key component is to separate the API and the implementation version so that Karaf does not restart the whole app upon restarting an implementation jar, and does not restart the other applications as well. Avoid purging flows, groups, and meters upon app deactivation. Avoid uninstalling other apps given app dependencies. That's a feature that ONOS has and we need to avoid, because we don't want dependent apps to be reinstalled because of a missing uninstalling and reinstalling an application, and thus protecting against absence of services, because we need to move services from mandatory to optional. And also, again, some of the local maps move them to atomics. There's another next step, which is fundamental, because sometimes changes to the OLT app entail changes to the OLT pipeline, even bug fixes. So that's extracting the OLT pipeline from ONOS. And I have to say that Netsia has done all of this already, at least in their version. It might not be the most up-to-date version of the app, but it is working. So I'll be working with them to upstream this. I started some progress on this one, and I actually have a working prototype of the OLT app, including the OLT pipeliner as of today. And again, we need a better version script to check the SEM versioning and enforcing some of these prerequisites. Okay.
Andrea, one thing I remember.
Yeah, go ahead, Theo.
Andrea? Yeah, with ONOS, we have been seeing issues with the component config, meaning that the config is gone.
Sorry, Theo, I lost
you. Are you looking to address that too, or are we saying that?
Sorry, Theo, I lost you for a second.
Oh, sorry, I was just talking about the component config, that if you restart the app, the config is gone. Are we looking at?
That's a good question. I think I got it, even though it was not entirely hearable, but I think the question is, is that what you were referring to?
I'm driving at the moment, so if you're typing something,
no, it's fine.
I don't know.
No, it's totally fine.
No, I was talking about the component config.
Yes.
When you do CFG set,
yes.
And that is not persisted. So are we saying that if you upgrade an app, you need to push the configuration again, or are we looking to maintain that?
No, we should maintain that. I added it as a bullet, and that needs to be done. Something that we need to look into. I don't believe it's too complicated, but needs to be looked into. Okay. Any other question or thought on this procedure? No? Okay. So I would like to ask everybody if this proposal for 2.7 is okay for vOLTHA and ONOS. There's also a section on OLT, minor version upgrade. I haven't thought too much about this because it's not really my experience, but maybe Girish, does this look fine to you?
Yes, it does. I had a look at it.
Okay. So, and the idea again is a minor bug fix here, and that vOLTHA only sees this as it is service impacting, so it cannot really, because it's the hardware, but it sees this as a reboot of the OLT. And that's it, effectively.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to hear everybody's opinion if this is fine as an approach to be taken for 2.7 for software update, minor software update.
I think so.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, to
Okay. That's good. That will make the necessary steps to try and achieve this. I am fairly confident that we can have this working within 2.7 with no major road bumps. ONOS, I cannot commit. I'm not yet confident that we can achieve this, especially given that I have not yet seen some of the changes that Netsia has done to the apps. I know Mahir and the team have always done great work, so I have. Oh yes, Mahir, go ahead.
after today's discussion, if we come with a discussion here, so we will go to open our tasks and start to upstream by the next week. Okay.
That would be perfect. That would be, because I would, yeah, and that would start the process of us looking at those patches and seeing how we can get them integrated. That would be great, Mahir. That would be great. Okay. So as I said, this still needs a lot more work, but if everything goes right, we might be able to pull it off. So the next step is a major software upgrade. And effectively, I have outlined a few things here on how to handle a major software upgrade within 2.7. But effectively, a major software upgrade is a full teardown of the vOLTHA stack with optional teardowns of Kafka, etcd, and ONOS, depending on how big and how ramificated the change is. And that's what I tried to outline here. For vOLTHA. For ONOS, there might be some work that we might try and do to be capable of upgrading ONOS without having to tear down all the vOLTHA stacks. But at the moment, if an ONOS update is required, the teardown of all the stacks is required. So effectively, as I said, a major software upgrade in 2.7 is a teardown of either just the vOLTHA services or the vOLTHA services plus etcd if there is storage change, or the vOLTHA services plus etcd and Kafka is if there is like message bus format changes, or ONOS, etcd, Kafka, vOLTHA if there is a major ONOS software upgrade. I have to put this here.
Makes sense to me. So as a note, I will say that if there is a major upgrade, so you need to upgrade etcd, ONOS, or Kafka, or any of the infrastructure components, you can bring up a new infrastructure and then migrate one stack at a time. So you don't need to tear down all your subscribers at once and then bring them up all together.
Yes. And if we have still some spare time, one of the things I outline here is a procedure for which we can relearn some of the state, especially flows, groups, and meters from vOLTHA, and not have to deal with a redeployment of that. But it might not be achievable within the 2.7 timeframe. No commitments here. What Matteo said works perfectly. You can do a change. Sorry, Matteo, go ahead. Okay. You can do a change of the infrastructure and move one stack at a time. And the same could apply for ONOS. One way of doing a major software upgrade in ONOS, again, would be moving one stack at a time to the new version of ONOS and everything like that. So, and the idea, the requirement from the operators, and that's why you see it in all of the to-dos, is that there is a service outage maximum of 2 hours, give or take. It would be better to have a lot less than that. And I think we can achieve a lot less than that, but 2 hours is the maximum time we have for the upgrade procedure. And the upgrade procedure, 2 hours, is from start to finish. So whenever we start the procedure, 2 hours is including the time to bring the subscriber back up to service and account for a buffer of time that if anything goes wrong, you can do rollback within those 2 hours. That's it. Any questions?
Can you clarify in the document those last statements, because particularly that last one's very important, which means the change has to take under 2 hours because you have to account for a buffer. Okay, you got that up there? Okay, thank you. Because setting the standard at 2 hours, you're really saying, well, no, it might be an hour that we have to do a change because it might take an hour to get things back up.
Precisely, David. Effectively, it could, if we would be capable of doing this under an hour, that would be, I would say that is our target. Because if something goes wrong, you still have the second hour to bring it up again. Again, a per stack deployment is right now a matter of minutes, but again, effectively 1 hour is our limit, because if everything goes wrong, we need to roll back to the previous state. Any other thoughts or comments?
That's part of why I will argue it's always better to deal with one stack at a time and moving them one at a time. So we know that bringing back up a stack takes 10 minutes. So if we move them one at a time, it should be fairly safe within the 2 hour window.
Agreed. Agreed.
I thought it took less than 5 minutes.
Yeah. Again, as I said,
Yeah.
it's a matter of minutes right now for a single stack. So I'm not worried at all. It's just that, again, there's no test at the moment that does that, and we need to make sure that we have that test. And as we had for scale, that we needed the 10-minute time limit, we set a 1 hour time limit effectively, and we make sure that we are below that. That is the target. I know that we can do it in a lot less. It's just, that's the target. That's why I have it there.
Just to clarify, sort of, we take around 5 minutes to provision all the subscribers and bring them to completion. But if you have to take into account the time you take to deploy the container and start them, we're closer to 10.
Okay, yes, got it.
Bringing up it stack by stack maybe is a bit tricky if we go to tear down ONOS and vOLTHA together and bring up them. You know, because there's only one ONOS and multi-stacks. So it may be tricky to do it stack by stack. Then when will you upgrade the ONOS? From beginning or end?
The first time, right? I mean,
yeah,
you do ONOS first, and then you bring up one stack at a time, no?
Yeah, then you need an upgrade, say policy to upgrade the ONOS when stacks are running. Then you should go to upgrade the auto stacks.
So Mahir, what I would do, and maybe I've not outlined it properly here, but maybe I did a poor job at it. But the idea, as Matteo was saying to me, would be you have 2 clusters of ONOS actually running at the same time. Okay, you have the old version and the new version. You deploy the new version, and then what you do is you go into the OF agent of the first vOLTHA stack, and you redeploy it with the new ONOS endpoint. Okay. What that does is effectively disconnects the channel of the OF agent from the first ONOS, which does nothing because it cannot operate without OF agent to the stack. And it goes and opens up the channel to the second ONOS, which will treat this vOLTHA as effectively a complete new device.
Wait, so I'm not following. This is a maintenance window thing, operation, right? We know it's service impacting. So why does it matter? All this having 2 ONOS in.
It would be software.
No, just for a major update case. Is not a 2.7 thing. Is not related with the in-service update we were talking about.
It's a major.
Yeah, so I'm not following Andrea.
If you take ONOS out, and ONOS disrupts service, everyone to whom you disrupted service, you now have a 2-hour window to get them back up and running. So if ONOS takes out all your stacks.
Yeah, I get that part, right? I mean, I understand that. What I'm not understanding is then why is the need to have 2 ONOS clusters running at the same time, then pointing one of the vOLTHA OF agent?
Sort of, the idea is that if you just kill ONOS, you start the 2-hour tick for all the subscribers on all the stacks connected to it. Instead, if you deploy the second ONOS and kill the OF agent 1 stack at a time, you have 2 hours per stack.
There are multiple stacks connected to a single ONOS.
So I think this is not a target for 2.7. It's more something we took in consideration in a disaster recovery case, that we figure out there is a huge bug in ONOS and we absolutely need to do a major update in ONOS. In that case, we can do it without tearing down all the subscriber and all the stack, but we can move them one at a time.
This same scenario is going to be true for any common service across stacks. So that includes not only ONOS, but the data store too, potentially.
Absolutely, yeah. That includes Kafka, includes the TCD, includes any shared service.
From Prometheus, anything like that.
Yeah, to me, it's just simply a way to reduce the risk involved with every single change, because you are dealing with less subscriber at a time. So if you have a disruption, is a contained one.
Did you get our point, sir?
Yeah, I'm trying to understand that, you know, the vOLTHA stack has state that is associated with, and it got it from the older ONOS. So just because you take down OF agent and point it to the new one, who wipes out all that state? Because the new ONOS is going to start from scratch again, right?
Yes, it will require a complete, effectively either device delete or unprovision of everything. I would suggest device delete. But still, even though you do a device delete on that vOLTHA stack, you're still keeping the allowance of 2 hours for that stack, because that's the only one you're moving.
Okay, so that part was the part that was missing. So you are deleting the device completely and purging all state before you point it to the new one.
Yes.
Okay, got it. So maybe I didn't see that.
But doesn't ONOS wipe out all the state from any new switch that connects?
Not necessarily, no.
Possibly needs to be tested. The flows, yes, unless you set the flags, but needs to be tested for groups and meters. I am almost certain it does, but it's not something you might want to leave to chance. So I would say that a device delete it would easier.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
So by doing a device delete, are we explicitly saying that we won't have any data migration during a major update?
At the moment, no.
Okay, maybe it needs to be explicit something.
Oh, I have a applied data migration policy, major software upgrade in 2.8 data migration policy.
Ah, okay, thanks.
So I was taking notes. Okay. Okay, that's all I had. Any questions or comments?
So if ONOS can reconcile state, does it mean we need to do a data migration for the other components?
I'm not following you.
Yeah, exactly. Same here.
No, because in what you written there, if ONOS does not reconcile state, then we have to do a device delete. But if ONOS can reconcile state, you may have like changes in API, changes in Protos, the data that actually we stored, they're different because it's a major upgrade. Are we going to save that data if ONOS can reconcile state?
That's
we are just going to discard all of them.
So hold on, that's ONOS internal state. And the only API that we have between ONOS and the OF agent is OpenFlow. I'm not expecting we change the OpenFlow spec. So I would say that the data that ONOS keeps and the data that vOLTHA keeps, if they are exchanged between OpenFlow and the spec is the spec, so we're not changing it and we're adhering to it, we can keep them as two separate points. When I say state here, it's ONOS state, so flows, groups, meters.
Okay.
It's not internal to vOLTHA. The state internal to vOLTHA is the pertinence of a vOLTHA component upgrade. Two different things. And yes, you might have data changes within vOLTHA, but you wouldn't have to tear down ONOS for that, because again, the exchange happens via OpenFlow, and we're not going to change the OpenFlow spec. At least that's my take. Saurav, maybe other have some other thoughts.
Oh, it makes sense.
So, assuming we want all of this in 2.7, whatever you've listed under 2.7, there is a there is a possibility, right, that 2.7 may slip by a month, just to get all the testing and everything in there.
There is. I would say there is. Or we decide that we don't do it in 2.7 and we do it in 2.8. It's a decision that the group can make. I'm fine with either.
Okay, well, let's see how much when we can get the contributions in, how much we are testing at the same time, and so on. We can make the call in a couple of weeks.
Yes, I know that Hardik started to take a look at the test for this test here. I know I've asked him to start taking a look, and I know he started. So at least that is ongoing.
Sorry, what are you pointing at? Which test?
The ONOS test. The ONOS minor ONOS app upgrade test.
Doesn't that require the Netsia contributions?
It does, but I want to start them in parallel, because even if the test fails, we know it fails, and we start seeing the contribution.
Right. Okay. I see. I understand now. Thanks.
Contributions, I mean, on our side, I think they probably will take about a week.
Yeah, so that's why I said let's evaluate in a couple of weeks to see if it gets into 2.7 or we need to push 2.7 back.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments on this? I would like to give Serkant a couple of minutes on his update on the ATCD and Redis testing.
Sure, I don't have much things to say, but yeah, a couple of minutes will be enough for me to give an update.
Perfect. Then let's reassess this as soon as the work gets more and more done. We are working on things, so we'll give an update next week. Serkan, take it away.
All right. So I started to evaluate the Redis clustering things. So I started with the Redis Sentinel support. So basically what it does is in a Redis pod, it also creates another container called Sentinel, and those Sentinel containers manages the master and standby Redis. So if one of the Redis instances fail or restarted, the Sentinel Sentinel containers starts to choose a new master. So in that architecture, you can have one master and two slaves. Also, there is another possibility in Redis, which is supported natively, called basically Redis clustering, but it requires at least 6 paths. So for each node, you need to create one master and one slave. So I found this Sentinel support more basic than the Redis clustering one, and I heard in our company they already tried the Sentinel support, so we know it's working. So to do that, I needed to change the library code, because to connect to a Redis master, first you need to find which pod is which Redis instance is the master. So in all of the library code supports Java, Python, and also Go libraries supports those Sentinel things. So you need to call a special API to find the master address, and then you can connect to the master Redis. If one of the fails, the library automatically handles connecting to the master one. So I tested those scenarios. What I didn't test is while provisioning an OLT or in ONU, I didn't restart I didn't restart the master Redis, so I don't know if a problem occurs between the master and slaves, because we know the Redis clustering is not consistent as CD. If I can manage to test that, I think we will be safe to continue with Redis. That is basically all I can say right now. Probably I am also will be able to upload the codes so you can start testing. Yeah.
That would be great, Turkan. Thanks. Yeah, that would be great.
Hopefully.
So I've been following the work from Serkan, but I would like to ask anybody if they have any questions around what he's been doing. I know the performance actually looked very good. We're talking about 1 million. And there's also a debate on whether one Redis per stack or one single Redis. So
sorry, what was the million thing that you said?
Oh, with Redis, they were Netsia was capable of pushing the whole system to 1 million plus flows, 1,000,005 plus.
What is that? 100,000 ONUs or something like that?
It is around 40,000 ONUs.
But I don't think ONOS can handle 1 million flows, to be honest.
So we did a couple of tricks in ONOS, especially we shut off the statistics. If you open the statistics, then yes, it is not possible. While without the statistics, yes, it can be doable, I think. There were also some connection problems in ONOS that we were able to fix when there are lots of OLTs and lots of ONUs. I guess Andrea already fixed that. You told us, Andrea, right?
There was sir, if you remember that issue where we were where even with like our 10 stacks, we were seeing issues with the port getting reported with a single thread OpenFlow southbound.
Yeah, probably we missed that and fixed it again.
But that's good numbers. So I think the next step here is actually to push the code so we can start looking at this out within the ONF infrastructure. The numbers are really promising. There is still the doubt about the eventual consistency of the storage, because the OLT adapter needs to be strongly consistent in the location of the gem port IDs. Is that correct, Girish?
Yes, yes, it is.
Yeah, and yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, I had another point to discuss. Sarkant, if I remember, you said there was etcd was consuming about 80 G of memory for how many ONUs was that? I forgot the number.
Let me check from my notes. It is, yeah, I tried that with 16 OLTs, 60 pounds and 40 ONU. So it is about, again, 40K.
Yeah, and you said with Redis it was consuming around 10 GB of memory or something like that.
So for one OLT, so for each VOLTHA stack, I am running one instance of Redis. So if the OLT is full, like 64 pounds, 64 ONUs, then it only consumes about one gig.
Yeah,
I mean, for 16 OLTs, yeah, it would be 60 gigabyte.
I'm sorry, 16
gigabyte.
Yeah, I mean, even 1 gigabyte felt too much in my opinion. So I was, and internally I was looking to evaluate what is that data that we store on etcd that is taking so much of memory. I mean, yeah, 1 GB also felt too much, really.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, that is some task that I'm internally working to see. I mean, why does it take so much memory? Is there something that we could reduce?
Okay, Girish, keep in mind that in Türk Telekom workflow in our test, we have, say, about 12 or 14.
12 flows.
12 flows, yeah, 12 flows per subscriber, which means, I mean, 4 services per subscriber. So it's
okay.
Okay, keep these numbers in mind.
Got it. Yeah, maybe I think Turk Telecom workflow would be a good use case to evaluate the memory. Yeah, I will do my analysis with Turk Telecom tests.
Okay, thank you.
So for etcd and the way we tested the etcd, we later discussed with Matteo and Andrea also. It seems it's normal using 60 gigabytes of memory because etcd keeps everything in memory, also the snapshots. Because we didn't give any file system to the etcd to store its snapshots. So because the snapshots also in the memory, I think it's normal.
But in our scale tests, I think we kept only the last snapshot or something like that, right, Matteo? Or not everyone? We did some compaction, something.
Yes, but it turns out that actually etcd, when you do the compaction, etcd basically discard the old snapshots. but it's not, if you're running in memory, it's not able to claim the memory back unless you run a defragmentation. And to do that, you basically have to ensure that no read or writes are coming to the system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that works if you are persisting to the disk, then the size will actually go down. But if you're running in memory, you need to run a defragmentation.
Okay.
Yeah, the strongly consistent point, Andrea, I mean, that may not be a problem. I mean, if we talk to a single we talk to only one instance of the Redis, the master.
Yeah, the only problem could be is what if the master restarts and another Redis instance becomes the master one. So if they don't have the same data, then the OpenVOLTHA adapters cache and the Redis data would may be different, right?
Got it.
But I think we can find a solution for that also, if that happens.
Did you get a chance to run this sort of test? I know you have done too much, but did you get a chance to try this use case?
No, not yet, because it is also hard to those kind of tests. So do you have any idea how can I do? For example, you said the gem infos is important. So I'm not sure if while testing I would be able to catch the problem.
Okay, I get it. I mean, you're testing with BBSIM. I mean, even if I don't think BBSIM evaluates uniqueness of the gem. I mean, it's a simulated environment, right? Probably if you do this on a hardware, you would detect some problems. But on BBSIM, I don't think it does strong evaluation on the consistency of this data. So it's not easy to catch.
Yeah, maybe I can put some logs and check the logs and check the SCD data later if they still have the same data. That is one thing I can think of. But if you think another ways, please let me know.
Well,
sure.
I can look into adding the checks that we need in BBSIM, because we are keeping some state in BBSIM. So if we need to keep some more state and do some validation and throw errors, we can do that.
That'll be useful to ensure that the uniqueness of the gem ports and alloc IDs. I mean, if you see that gem ports or alloc IDs are getting reused on the same PON port, then if BBSIM can throw some errors or panic, I mean, that would be useful.
Okay. I see what you mean.
Also, okay, I'll create a Jira for that to make sure I have the right feature and if I can get a Jira.
Also, we can add the ONU IDs to gem ports and alloc IDs.
So basically what you are saying is start the BBSIM test, start provisioning some ONUs, and after provisioning the subscribers, restart the Redis and check if there are any duplicate jump ports, right?
No. I think you should restart the Redis or kill the master Redis pod while midway through, I mean, the provisioning of these ONUs. That's when duplicates can happen.
Okay, got it. I think the gem info is already
the provisioning of the new or midway through the provisioning of the subscriber.
Both. For ONU IDs, first one. For the gem and alloc, second one.
Yeah.
Okay, then it can be useful to start BBSIM as a mode that is called control activation, in which you can programmatically discover the ONUs. So that could be useful, meaning you bring it up with 10 on port, you activate 5, then you restart Redis, and then you call in the BBCM API to activate the remaining 5.
Do we need that? No,
I lost you for a bit.
Let's say, yeah. Matteo basically told us that we can start provisioning, let's say 5 ONUs, and then stop the provisioning of ONUs, restart the Redis, and then provision 5 other ONUs. But I don't think we would need that.
Yeah, you should restart Redis during the provisioning, not starting the provisioning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, then I think we have our.
I think we lost.
No. Okay, so I think we have our next steps. Thanks for that, both Matteo and Serkant and everybody. So I would say let's keep at it, and let's get together again next week on this topic. Serkant, if you have maybe the start of the code, that would be great. And if anybody wants more information of what Serkant is testing, go visit this. There's a document that tells exactly what he's doing. So please go ahead and check it out. And if you have any more questions, you can send them out to him directly on Slack. So having said that, given that we are over time, I'd like to thank everybody, and I'll talk to you again next week. And thanks for the great work. Cheers, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.